There is a ghost that haunts you. It is not the ghost of a person, but the ghost of a life you did not live. Carl Jung called it the unlived life, the staggering potential that you turned away from. It's the part of you that whispers in the dead of night, not of what you've lost, but of who you refuse to become. And nowhere does this ghost loom larger, more terrifyingly real, than in the space left behind when you reject the connection with your twin flame. This isn't about romance. Forget the saccharine, pop culture version of soulmates. We are not talking about finding your other half to feel complete. Jung would laugh at that idea. His entire life's work was about one thing: becoming whole within yourself. And the twin flame through this lens is not a destination. It is a crucible. It is the most potent, most terrifying, and most transformative catalyst for that process of becoming whole, a process he called individuation. They are the mirror you did not ask for. They show you in blinding, undeniable detail every part of yourself you have tried to bury. Your shadow, your hidden genius, your repressed power, your deepest wounds. To connect with them is to agree to a radical form of psychic surgery, performed without anesthetic. So it's no wonder so many choose to run. It feels like self-preservation. But what you are about to understand is that this act of running is not self-preservation. It is the most profound act of self-betrayal imaginable. Today, we delve into the brutal, psychological truth of what happens when you reject this connection. This is not a list of regrets. This is a map of the territory of the soul when it is denied its most crucial opportunity for growth. We will explore the precise Jungian consequences of that rejection, the shadow that grows unchecked, the developmental arrest of your own soul, and the inevitable, painful crisis that will erupt when the life you were meant to live comes back to claim its due. This is the truth of what happens when you look away from the mirror. First and most immediate, you unleash your own shadow. When you reject the twin flame connection, you are not rejecting a person. You are rejecting a reflection. Specifically, you are rejecting the reflection of your own shadow self. The shadow, in Jungian terms, is the unknown dark side of the personality. It is composed of the primitive, negative, and socially reprehensible thoughts, feelings, and impulses that we deny exist within us. It is the part of us we are ashamed of, the part we project onto others. Your twin flame is the ultimate trigger for this shadow because they embody or illuminate everything you have disowned. If you are rigid and controlling, they will be spontaneous and free. If you are emotionally repressed, they will be radically expressive. They don't do this to annoy you. They do it to show you the missing part of your own psychic equation. They are the living, breathing embodiment of your unlived life. When you run from them, you are saying, "I refuse to acknowledge this part of myself." But the shadow doesn't simply disappear. It's a fundamental part of your psyche. When you repress it, you are not destroying it, you are feeding it in the dark. It grows stronger, more autonomous, and more destructive. It begins to leak out sideways, poisoning your life from the unconscious. Consider the story of Elias, a renowned architect whose entire life was a monument to order and precision. His buildings were celebrated for their clean lines, their logical perfection, their utter lack of frivolous detail. His personal life was the same, a meticulously curated existence where every variable was controlled. Then he met Lena. She was a musician, a creature of pure chaos and intuition. Her melodies were unpredictable. Her life was a beautiful, spontaneous mess. When she looked at him, she didn't see the genius architect. She saw a man in a gilded cage. She saw his fear. Elias was both magnetized and terrified. Lena was everything he secretly craved and openly despised. She was the chaos he had spent his entire life suppressing. In her presence, he felt the foundations of his own identity start to crack. So he did what he always did. He controlled the variable. He ended it. He rejected her calmly and rationally, telling himself it was an incompatibility of lifestyles. He rejected the connection. But he had not rejected Lena. He had rejected his own shadow, and the shadow, now spurned, began to wage war. His work, once his sanctuary of order, became his battlefield. He started making inexplicable mistakes. A calculation would be off by a fraction of an inch, leading to a costly structural flaw. A design that looked perfect on paper would feel sterile and dead in reality. His famous precision deserted him. His temper, once non-existent, became volatile. He would lash out at junior architects for the very creativity he once championed. His clients began to complain that his work had lost its soul. He hadn't lost his skill, he had lost his balance. The repressed chaos, the emotional spontaneity he saw and rejected in Lena was now sabotaging his life from within. He tried to double down on control, working longer hours, rechecking every calculation, but it only made things worse. He was trying to fight a ghost. The more he fought his shadow, the more it controlled him. By rejecting the mirror, he had allowed the monster in the reflection to climb out and take over his kingdom. This is the first brutal consequence. Rejecting the connection is an invitation for your unintegrated shadow to run your life. It will manifest as self-sabotage, inexplicable mood swings, projection onto innocent others, and a deep, gnawing sense that you are your own worst enemy. The very thing you ran from in them becomes your internal warden. The actionable step here is not to go back and beg, it's to finally do the work you ran from. It is to turn inward and face the shadow willingly. Start a shadow journal. Write down every ugly, jealous, fearful, and angry thought you have without judgment. Give your monster a name, ask it what it wants. Jung called this active imagination, entering into a dialogue with the figures of your own psyche. You must own the chaos, the fear, the imperfection you saw in them, and recognize it as a vital, powerful part of you that is desperate for the light. Until you do, you are not a whole person, you are a civil war. Second, you arrest the process of your own individuation. Individuation was Jung's term for the ultimate goal of human life, becoming an individual, a whole, indivisible, and distinct being. It's the journey of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of yourself to become who you were truly meant to be, not who society, your parents, or your ego told you to be. It is the path to authenticity. The twin flame connection is a supercharged catalyst for individuation. It acts like a developmental shortcut, forcing you to confront decades of psychological baggage in a matter of months or even weeks. It shatters the false persona, the mask you wear for the world, and demands that your true self emerge. It is, in essence, a spiritual and psychological growth spurt. When you reject this connection, you are pressing a giant pause button on this essential process. You are choosing the persona over the self. You are choosing the comfortable cage of your old identity over the terrifying freedom of your true potential. The result is stagnation, not just a romantic stagnation, but a complete developmental arrest of your soul. Life goes on, but it feels hollow. You might achieve external success, get the promotion, buy the house, build the company, but the feeling of meaning drains away. It's like eating food with no nutritional value. You are full, but you are starving to death. This is the loss of soul Jung spoke of, where one becomes disconnected from the vital, authentic core of their being. Let's imagine Mara, a brilliant corporate strategist. Her life was a series of calculated victories. She could dismantle a failing company and rebuild it for maximum profit before breakfast. Her identity was her intellect, her ambition, her success. She met Daniel, a man who ran a small non-profit community garden in a forgotten part of the city. He measured his success not in dollars, but in the number of families he fed, in the laughter of children playing among the vegetables. He saw through Mara's corporate armor instantly. He didn't challenge her intellect, he challenged her values. He asked her what brought her joy, not what brought her status. He represented a path of heart, of community, of purpose beyond the balance sheet. For a moment, Mara felt a powerful pull towards this world, a forgotten part of herself from childhood that wanted to create and nurture, not just acquire and conquer. But the persona was too strong. The fear of losing her status, her identity as a winner, was overwhelming. She dismissed him as a naive idealist and walked away. Years pass. Mara is now a CEO. She has a penthouse apartment with a breathtaking view of the city, a portfolio worth millions, and the respect of her peers. She has won the game, but she is profoundly, miserably, existentially empty. She walks through her art-filled apartment and feels nothing. She closes a billion-dollar deal and the thrill lasts for 5 minutes before the hollowness returns. She is surrounded by success, but is utterly alone with her persona. She didn't just reject Daniel, she rejected the part of her own soul that he mirrored, the part that craved meaning over money, connection over conquest. Her individuation process stalled on that day. She continued to grow her ego, but herself, her soul, began to wither. This is the second silent tragedy of rejecting the connection. You sentence yourself to an inauthentic life. You become a ghost in your own story, playing a role you wrote long ago, even though it no longer fits. The world may applaud your performance, but you know it's a lie. The only way out of this gilded cage is to consciously restart the individuation process. This requires brutal honesty. You must ask yourself the questions you've been avoiding. What did that person represent that I was too afraid to embrace in myself? What parts of my life are built on shoulds instead of authentic desire? The actionable steps are about deconstructing the false self. Start small. Take a class you're interested in, even if it's unproductive. Volunteer for a cause that resonates with your heart, not your resume. Reconnect with your inner child. What did you love to do before the world told you who to be? You must deliberately choose the path of the self, even if it means dismantling the successful life the persona has built. It's a terrifying demolition project, but it's the only way to build something real in its place. Third, you condemn yourself to be haunted by the anima or animus. Within the Jungian framework, every man has an inner feminine archetype called the anima, and every woman has an inner masculine archetype called the animus. This is not about gender identity, it's about the soul's image of the other. The anima animus holds all the qualities of the opposite principle that are underdeveloped in our own consciousness. For a highly logical man, his anima might be wild, emotional, and intuitive. For a very nurturing woman, her animus might be assertive, logical, and fiercely independent. Often, the twin flame is a near-perfect external manifestation of your own inner anima or animus. You are not just falling in love with a person, you are falling in love with a lost part of your own soul that you see walking around in the world. This is why the connection feels so faded, so deeply familiar. It is familiar. You've known them your entire life in your dreams and unconscious fantasies. Integrating the anima or animus is a critical stage of individuation. It means withdrawing the projection from an external person and consciously developing those qualities within yourself. A man must develop his own capacity for feeling and intuition, integrate his anima. A woman must develop her own capacity for assertion and logic, integrate her animus. This leads to psychological wholeness and maturity. When you reject the twin flame, you are violently rejecting this integration process. You are casting out the external representation of your soul's counterpart, but the archetype doesn't vanish. Instead, it remains unintegrated, unconscious, and often turns negative and destructive. You become haunted. Consider Caleb, a man who prided himself on his stoic rationality and emotional control. He meets Isabel, who is his polar opposite, passionate, artistically expressive, and emotionally transparent. She is the living embodiment of his anima. She challenges him to feel, to be vulnerable, to connect with the world through his heart, not just his head. The intensity is too much for his rigid ego. He breaks it off, labeling her as too dramatic and unstable. He thinks he has escaped, but he has just unleashed the haunting. His unintegrated anima now runs his relational life. It plays out in two devastating ways. First, in what Jung called a positive projection. He starts to see Isabel in every woman he meets. He idealizes new partners, projecting the magical, soulful qualities of his anima onto them, only to be bitterly disappointed when they turn out to be normal, flawed human beings. No one can live up to the goddess archetype he is searching for because he is not looking for a partner. He is looking for the lost part of his own soul. When that fails, the anima turns negative. He becomes critical, moody, and resentful towards women. He accuses them of being irrational and overly emotional, the very qualities he rejected in Isabel but failed to integrate in himself. His relationships become a battlefield where he is constantly fighting his own inner feminine. He is trapped in a cycle of idealization and devaluation, unable to have a mature, healthy relationship because he refuses to do the inner work. He is haunted by the ghost of his own anima. The same happens for a woman who rejects her animus figure. She may find herself perpetually attracted to men who are unavailable or domineering, a negative animus projection, or she may become overly critical and argumentative, possessed by a rigid, opinionated internal masculine force. The consequence is a life of relational chaos. You are doomed to repeat the same patterns, to seek the rejected one in every new face, and to ultimately sabotage any chance at real intimacy. You are not relating to the person in front of you, you are wrestling with a projection from your own unconscious. The way to end the haunting is to stop looking for your anima or animus outside of yourself. You must turn inward and consciously cultivate those qualities. If you are the man who rejected emotion, you must learn to sit with your feelings. Practice mindfulness, journal, express yourself creatively. If you are the woman who rejected assertion, you must learn to set boundaries. Practice speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. Take on a project that requires logical planning. You must become the man or woman you have been searching for. Only by integrating the inner archetype can you finally see and relate to an external partner as they truly are, a whole person, not just a screen for your projections. Fourth, you sever your connection to synchronicity and the soul's path. Synchronicity was Jung's term for meaningful coincidences. Events in the external world that have no causal relationship but seem to be meaningfully related. It's the universe winking at you. It's the right book falling off the shelf, the unexpected phone call, the song on the radio that speaks directly to your situation. For Jung, synchronicities were not random. They were signposts from the self, the organizing, intelligent center of the psyche, guiding you along the path of individuation. The twin flame journey is almost always saturated with synchronicity. The way you meet, the numbers you see, the uncanny parallels in your life stories, it all feels guided by an unseen hand. This is the self, the universe, your soul, whatever you wish to call it, screaming at you, pay attention, this is important, this is your path. To reject the connection, especially when it has been so clearly signposted, is an act of profound spiritual defiance. It is you, the ego, telling the greater self, I know better than you, I don't trust your guidance, your map is wrong. The consequence of this is devastating. the synchronicities often dry up. The magic drains from your world. It's not that the universe is punishing you. It's that you have consciously chosen to stop listening. You have told the guiding intelligence of your own soul that you are not interested in its messages, so it falls silent. Life, once vibrant with meaning and magic, becomes flat, mundane, and random. You feel spiritually adrift, abandoned, because you chose to abandon the path that was being illuminated for you. Think of Serena, a talented but insecure painter. For years, her art felt stale. She prayed for a muse, for a spark. Then she started seeing the number sequence 818 everywhere, on clocks, on license plates, on receipts. She looked it up and found it was associated with new beginnings and creative inspiration. The next day, she stumbled upon a small, hidden art gallery she'd never seen before. The address was 818. Inside, she met the gallery owner, a man named Julian. The connection was immediate, electric. He spoke about art in a way that reignited her passion. He saw a genius in her that she couldn't see in herself. Their life stories had bizarre, beautiful parallels. He was her living, breathing synchronicity. But the intensity of it all, the feeling of being seen so completely, terrified her. It meant she had to actually believe in herself. It meant she had to step up and become the great artist he saw. The fear of failure was greater than the pull of destiny. She made an excuse, pulled away, and never went back to the gallery. She rejected the call. And the world went quiet. The number 818 disappeared. No more meaningful coincidences. Her creative wellspring, which had started to bubble, dried up completely. She would sit in front of a canvas for hours, but the magic was gone. The universe had presented her with a key, a guide, a path forward, and she had refused it. Now she was lost in the woods again, but this time there were no breadcrumbs to follow. She had declared her distrust in the path, and so the path vanished. This is a deep, hollowing consequence. It's the feeling of being cut off from grace, of living in a spiritually deaf and dumb universe. The actionable step to reverse this is an act of faith. You must start listening again, even if the world is silent. It begins with mindfulness. Pay attention to the small things. Keep a dream journal. Notice the little coincidences, even if they seem insignificant. You have to demonstrate to your own self that you are ready to trust its guidance again. Now take a small, intuitive leap of faith. Follow a whim. Go to the place you feel inexplicably drawn to. You are rebuilding a broken trust with the deepest part of yourself. You are learning to read the map of your own soul once more. Finally, and most inevitably, you trigger a forced collapse, the dark night of the soul. This is the ultimate consequence, the one that gathers all the others into a single catastrophic event. The psyche, like nature, abhors a vacuum. The growth that was denied, the shadow that was repressed, the individuation that was stalled, it doesn't just go away, it festers. It builds pressure beneath the surface of your carefully constructed life. Rejecting the twin flame connection is often like pulling the pin from a grenade and then trying to pretend it doesn't exist. The explosion is delayed, but it is inevitable. And when it comes, it is not a gentle course correction. It is a total demolition. This is the dark night of the soul. It's a period where your entire world, your identity, your belief system completely falls apart. The job you clung to for security is lost. The relationships you used to distract yourself crumble. Your health may fail. You are stripped of everything you used to define yourself. It feels like a punishment, like the universe is exacting a terrible revenge. But from a Jungian perspective, it is not a punishment. It is a radical, life-saving intervention. It is your own soul, your greater self, initiating a controlled demolition because the structure you built, the life of the persona, the life of fear, was leading you to spiritual death. The ego's way failed. So the self takes over, and its methods are brutal because they have to be. It has to break you down completely to force you to rebuild on a true, authentic foundation. Let's return to Elias, the architect of order. 5 years after he rejected Lena, his life is unrecognizable. His firm went bankrupt after a series of high-profile failures, the very flaws that began to appear after he pushed her away. His marriage, built on control and image, ended in a bitter divorce. He lives in a small apartment, a shadow of his former self, consumed by a depression that no logic can fix. He has hit rock bottom. Everything he built his identity on is gone. This is his dark night. In the crushing silence of his failure, there is nowhere left to run. He has no status to hide behind, no work to distract him. All he has is the raw, painful truth of his own being. And in that darkness, he finally begins to confront the ghost. He starts to understand that his obsession with order was a defense against his terror of life's beautiful, uncontrollable chaos. He realizes that in rejecting Lena, he rejected the very life force he desperately needed. The dark night of the soul is the consequence of refusing the gentle invitation for growth. The connection was the offer to walk through the door willingly. The rejection means that one day the soul will simply dynamite the entire building to get you out. It is the psyche's last-ditch effort to save you from your own ego. If you find yourself in this place, know this is not the end. It is a terrifying, painful, and deeply necessary beginning. The actionable step here is one word: surrender. Stop fighting. Stop trying to rebuild the old life. It's gone for a reason. Surrender to the breakdown. Seek help, a therapist, a spiritual guide, a support group. Understand that you are in a process of dissolution that must precede rebirth. Your only job in the dark night is to endure, to feel, and to listen to the faint whispers of the true self that is waiting to be born from the ashes of your old life. It is the forced awakening you get when you refuse the gentle one. So what happens when you reject the connection with your twin flame? You sentence yourself to be haunted by your own unintegrated shadow, which sabotages your life from within. You halt the essential process of your own individuation, condemning yourself to an inauthentic life of hollow achievements. You unleash the ghost of your anima or animus, trapping yourself in cycles of relational chaos. You sever your trust with the universe, and the magic of synchronicity fades from your world. And ultimately, you set the stage for a forced and painful collapse, a dark night of the soul designed to shatter the false self you refused to let go of. These are not punishments from an angry god or a vengeful ex-lover. They are the logical, psychological consequences of a single, fundamental choice: the choice of fear over courage. The choice of the known prison over the unknown freedom. But the final, brutal truth is this: the choice was never truly about them. It was never about whether they were perfect or if the timing was right. The connection, the mirror, was simply a question posed to you by your own soul. And the question was this: are you ready to become whole? Are you brave enough to face everything you are so you can become everything you are meant to be? Rejecting the connection is simply answering no, but the soul never stops asking. The path of individuation is the hero's journey. It is not for the faint of heart. It demands everything from you, but it is the only journey that leads to a life of meaning, of authenticity, of wholeness. The mirror has been shown to you. The reflection is waiting. And the choice, as it always has been, is yours. Do you have the courage to look? Do you have the strength to stop running, to turn around, and to finally, fully embrace yourself? Your real life depends on the answer.